Okay, good morning, guys. This is Simon with Trade and Perform Coaching, doing the market preview for 8:20, 7:24, and it is 8:21 in the morning. So we have Mueller testifying today, and we have oil inventories at 9:30 Central Time. So first, let's cover ES. First of all, huge balance range. Basically goes from 3008. That's been the top from the 17th, the 19th, and here we are again. We're currently trading 29.99.75. The bottom of the range is roughly 29.84 to 29.76, right? So first of all, if we break above this and we can get past 3016, it's a pretty clean shot for potential breakout to the upside, right? See how the points of control were actually separated? Actually, they weren't. I stand corrected. So the 29.95 to 29.92 has the potential to be a chop area. However, because buyers have taken control, I still would expect a response out of here the first time, but I would expect to chop in this area and not make it easy to get the extension back up. Just expect a lot of choppiness. I hate trading inside of that blue zone. It just makes it difficult to have the patience to wait it out, right? And I think if we can get over this triple top over here, we have a pretty good shot at breaking back to the upside. And really, they tried 3 times to sell pretty hard down here, and they just couldn't get the job done. So you'd think we're building energy for a move, and you'd think the move would be for an upside break, right? If you continue with that thought process and you look at how ES handled itself overnight so far, you can see that we came right to the point of control around 4:30 this morning, and we've just been grinding, and that makes sense given that we've been waiting on Mueller's testimony. So the one thing I want to show you about ES, what were the setups from yesterday that were clear, right? So if we look at the setups from yesterday on ES, there's 2 things. First, let's get rid of this, park it over here for now. And if we look at ES, okay, so the same pattern's repeating. What I've been noticing is if we focus on the edge, day trading setups, but on the edge, what do those end up looking like? So if you look at yesterday, we knew that 29.90, 29.87, that area was generally the place we wanted to look, right? So if you look here, we had 2 interesting things. When we're looking for a bottom, right? When we're looking for a bottom, we want to see 2 things. We want to see it. So we can look at the example from 837. See how we had this big delta push down up to the point. This is what the market looked like, right? That was the biggest push to the downside, right? If you draw a line underneath the bottom of that, here I'm going to erase this. You'll draw a line underneath the bottom of this wave right here, right? We want 2 things to happen. Number 1, we'd like to see it close below and then shift back into that wave. That's one sign that we have a bottom and that they're trapped. That didn't happen. Instead, what happened is we backside tested that wave and then it rolled to the downside. That made perfect sense. When you think about it, if it can't trap back in, it's going to roll down, right? Pretty simple choice. If you go a little bit further over, right, and what you will see here is we then make, so there's the low. Here's the new low. You'll see the new low was hit on almost no delta. See that? When we came down, it was almost complete delta divergence into that low, right? MACD and the stochastic was extended all the way to the downside. And if you'll look, this ended up being the last little push. We tried to break below. They shifted back in, and they squeezed it back up. That was cool. That was interesting. And it made sense, right? From a perspective, if you look, we get our first wave. We closed above the wave, we backside tested the wave and pushed out. All of that is within our trade plan, right? If you look, right, here's the first wave up. There's the close, there's the first close above. Here's the backside test, and it pushes, right? That is textbook one of our best setups, right? But then if you look as we come down, we now make this big delta push right here. So this is a big heads up, just like this was a big heads up. When you look at that wave, what you were saying is, hey, we've pushed down, right? Number 1, on the biggest push, we couldn't break to the low over here to the left, right? So then we do this little consolidation dance. We really can't get, we don't get an up wave. But then we come in, you'll see that we start diverging on the MACD, and we push to a new low. Again, if we just draw a line underneath the low of that wave, and you'll see they get one bar underneath, right? One bar underneath. There's no delta again. See the delta divergence onto the low? But now look at this shift. See this shift up right here? Speed bar, fractal, shift up. That is the trap right there. That trap at 11 o'clock, that close in. Now, what do you have to risk to see if this will work? You're going to risk about 3 points to get into that trade. And now look at the net push that you get out of that. And it followed our process in addition to that, right? If you'll look, here's our first wave up, right? We don't close above that first wave up. We get another wave, right? We now close above that wave with a shift. You see that? There's the top of the wave. There's the shift. That launches it. And we pretty much, there's an anomaly sitting right here, or yellow zone, however you want to call it. And if you'll look, that also breaks above the high. And what all you're looking for is for it to not to shift back down into this area, right? You want that to hold above, and that pushes. Now watch what happens overnight. See that line? I'm going to replace it. Okay, that was the breakout right at 3,000. Okay, now watch how the market treats that on the way back. We come all the way back. If you follow this in logic and you pin it one bar over the other, right? What you end up with okay, is the biggest push on top. Now see that push right there? So look at how this process is going right at 5 o'clock. You get this giant push, right? And when you look back to the left, right? So you want to measure it going across, right? That's a big push, right? It's bigger than every other push back there. Now, two things. Number one thing I would expect is on the biggest push, I would think, hey, I'm going to break the high of that wave, but we don't. It stops. Number two, I know if I get underneath that wave, everyone that pushed there is trapped. Number three, where's my breakout point? My breakout point is over here, that yellow line, right? This is the whole consolidation, breakout point, down wave. It's my first down wave, right? Makes this whole thing resistance, right? Doesn't close underneath. Notice that we come right back to where everyone's trapped. Now, we know if we get underneath that 29.98, we end up with a long liquidation. Now, look what they try to do one more time. One tick above, late Asia, right? Shift up. Now, when you get a shift up, this is your last wave again, right? No delta, close underneath for the second time, roll. Notice we push right down to the 29.98, hold, right? And that's where we stand right now. That is how that whole process works. And if you'll look again, they try to break underneath this last down wave, right? It's the biggest push to the downside. They try to break underneath, shove back in, and now we're just in this trap situation, right? So you know two things. A, in order to be bearish, you're going to have to get below 29.98. That's just for a downside rotation, right? Number two, right? When we look at this, what are we looking for? First of all, we know that if we don't get underneath this push right here, there is no short, right? That's the buy wave off the bottom. They can't get underneath that. If it's only one bar underneath, they trap underneath, we're just going to push back up and we're going to retest this 3006, 3008 and areas higher. That's how that's going to go, right? Number two, what am I looking for, right? I am looking for big pushes down just like this, trap underneath, and then shove back in. That's what it looks like. Like literally, that's what it looks like on the bottom. They put a down wave, and they either come in and put a double bottom on a delta push that can't break, or they break it by a few ticks, and it goes fractal shift up or shift up, one of the two. Fractal shift up is obviously desirable, right? And they take it the other way. That's just how it works, right? And you can see it over and over and over again. Here, I'm going to go back to the other day when we pushed down on Monday. right? So here's Monday in the morning. Here's your big wave down, right? This becomes an important area. First of all, you'll notice they trade a bar below, shift back into the wave, and it pushes all the way back up, right? And now you have a low. See that? Now notice they come all the way down to the low. You get a big push, isn't able to grab the low. Then you get a bigger second push, right? This, since 7:08, that 8:35 a.m. is the biggest push down, and they can't do anything with it. On the biggest push down, they one tick exactly double bottom the low, speed bar fractal shift up. Again, your risk here is about 2 points, and they slingshot it to the other side. See that over there? And what you'll notice is you end up with the stochastic being oversold on that. Now I want you to watch one more time. They're going to come back again later in the morning, right? Okay. See this big push right here? That is arguably, it's either this one or this one. That's arguably the biggest push on the downside, right? See how, okay, so see how initially they push down, speed bar, fractal, shift up, push away, right? But now see how once we're underneath, we're looking for either a new big wave or a fractal shift back up into this 2982. So watch what happens. You come down. Notice you never shift back in, right? This is your big wave right here. Certainly your last wave, right? Put a line underneath that. Right there. So the first time, no shift back up. See how they trade underneath? Shift back in again. See the shift right there? And push again, right? We are looking for, right, when the market's in a bull condition, we are looking for the breaks of a wave and then the shifts back in, preferably fractal shift back in, but we don't always get it because it's summertime and it produces these sweeps to the other end of the range. Like if you're trading ES, that's what you're looking for, is you're looking for the trap on the edge, and it's always been true. I can show you. You go back over here, right? Big down day coming through here. Let's get out of Asia. All right, let's come over here where we had the put. There we go. Let's see if we can find where we get a push down in here. We were in April. I know we get a push down somewhere. There we go. Okay, you're waiting, you're waiting, you're waiting. Here's your original push down overnight. Here's the U.S. session, early in U.S. session, right? That's the biggest push down since this monstrosity over here, right? So two things. If that's the biggest wave down and you get underneath it, right, I want to point something out. First, close underneath. First, shift back in. Your stop is that fractal. Down it goes. Secondly, see this over here? So notice that it didn't shift back in on this wave in the U.S. session, but it did shove back into this wave on the breakdown. The first fractal shift up wasn't back in. The first shift up wasn't back into the wave. Second one was off it goes to the races, right? And you also notice the divergence that we had off the lows, and it reverses back up. And if you look, it follows that process over and over and over again on the pushes down. And the same holds for the pushes on the upside. It's just ES tends to go up more than it goes down. And so you'll see over here, see this? See how this ends up being your biggest push down right here? Right, if you draw a line underneath that. Okay, close underneath, fractal, shift up, push. Comes back again a second time, right? See how it doesn't shift here? It doesn't shift back into the wave. What it does is it's using this wave right here. It doesn't shift in either time. I wouldn't have taken that, although it ended up being quite a good entry back to the upside. And then if you look, well, the day's over at this point, and they start the whole process over again. The point is, we're looking for the edges, right? We're looking for the edges. And if you can't see the edges off of a 1 minute time frame, go draw where your swing lows are off a 5 minute bar or off of a 5 range bar and see where those edges are so that you can catch them. I'm going to show you this on CL as well, same shred up. So first, let's go grab this and look at CL for a second. CL profile. We've had a big roll to the downside, right? But when you Look at the bigger picture. We're just kind of in balance. It's not really bearish. It's not really bullish. We're just trading a range, right? When we come back up, we've been above value. In order to long liquidate, right, doesn't mean we can't go down. You're just going to have to get underneath 5604. We have a poor low here. It needs to be repaired. If you get excess underneath and it traps back in, chart repaired, and it can continue back up on its merry way. We have resistance sitting right here. 58 to 58.33. Our next resistance is really right here, all the way up at 59.84 to 60.16. Underneath, our major support starts at 53.96, plus the potential of testing and holding the swing low at 54.85. Those are the key areas. This is prior day's point of control, so it's choppy. I would not want to trade in there. You are likely to get chopped up. And then the next question I have is, if we hold above value from the prior day at 56.41, upside is more likely than downside until the point, and excuse me, I missed one area here. This is a valid resistance area, 57.41 to 57.27. And we hit that yesterday on inventory numbers. Inventory comes out at 9:30, and other than being incredibly slow paced, the process is working. I'm going to go review that process really quick. First of all, I threw up a higher range chart on there, a 25 range chart. You can see we're following. We've established a trend line up, and we are establishing it, right? We are following it. So the first thing that interests me, right? See when we get these big delta pushes over here? See this? When we get underneath those delta pushes, we tend to push down. So this one isn't ginormous, but it's pretty big. I'd rather hold above it than deal with getting underneath it. Notice that getting underneath it would also mean breaking this trend line. Again, I'm just trying to set up the picture for what I'm looking for overall. Number two, they rejected here. They attempted to trap back in. They got up. They formed a spring right here, attempted to trap back in. Couldn't break, right? Below 56.40 sets up the potential for the break of this swing right here, okay? But it's got to get underneath 56.40. Hasn't shown the inclination, and even if you get it, you got to bet that someone else can draw this trend line. They are probably going to attempt to hold that trend line. So first time in, I would look for a response off of that trend line, right? Number two, I need some kind of down wave. So right now, I know this morning we put in a down wave. I know if I trade underneath this down wave and I then close back in, that I am very likely to push out on that. Why? That's an attempt below that first push to the downside. You'll notice that first push to the downside had absolutely no effect. No seller stepped in on that push down. That is generally a bullish sign. When you push down, you can't get underneath that. If we do get underneath it and trap right back in, it's also bullish. We are very extended on the MACD on the bigger picture, but you can stay extended for a long time and keep hitting new highs on a bigger picture. So that doesn't matter. That's just for my bigger time frame reference, right? Number two, obviously not trading it until after oil inventories. If we go to a smaller pick, and we go back to yesterday. Again, I want to show this. See, I still have it marked off. As choppy as it was, if you will look to the edges, here's your first push down. Notice we get underneath, right? See how we can't push back up into it? Okay. Here's your next push down right here at 5:52 in the morning, right? Notice that we don't trade one tick underneath the bottom of that wave, and it immediately traps back in. Wait, first wave up, right? It comes back in for a backside test of this wave. The wave holds and it pushes out. Within that process, I want to show you something. This was our wave down, right? So if we eliminate this during the US session, this became on a 9 range our biggest push down. I'm going to draw a line underneath that. That's the bottom of that wave. Notice we don't close back in with a point of control. We do close back in, but not with a point of control. What we do is we actually, I stand corrected. we traded underneath, right? Speed bar fractal, shift up, right? Closes back into the wave, but by 1 tick. That's always a little bit iffy, right? Then we come back down, retest, shift down, fractal, shift up, again, closes back into the wave. Your risk here is 18 cents on this trade. And then they came and you get your first upside wave right here. They close above that wave right here on the blue speed bar, shift down, backside test, fractal, shift up, and that is the launch. On the top part, see how this was our push up? And the same rule applies. See how they tried to break out with a point of control, shift back in underneath, and they rolled back through it because we were in balance, right? Notice the moment we closed back above that 56.30 right here, that's the first clean close above, right? It is launched. They backside tested, right? Backside tested into this area, fractal shift up, and launched. And this eventually launched from 56.40 all the way up to 57.60. It was actually worth 100 ticks, though granted you had to hold it into oil rig count. We were looking for those trade. If you can get good at pounding the edge of that wave, you will put in more and more P&L on your capital. And if you can catch the waves on the edge here as well, right? So if you look this morning, even though I'm not bearish, right, what do I want to do? If I see a big push up, right, and then a shift back down into the wave prior, like, where's my biggest push? Right now, this is my biggest push of the U.S. session. It's really been quiet here, right? So if I see a big delta push up and then I shift back down into this wave, I'm going to assume we're going to make a trip back down towards 56.80 because that's the edge. And I want to try to capture that more and more, trading from edge to edge. I want to apply the same day trading technique I'm looking for, trading edge to edge. The other thing that you'll notice is when you get a back-to-back wave to the downside, right? So, and they are equal and cannot break the low. And I want to thank Randy for this. We were working together and he saw this, but when you get these, what I'll call double-barreled wave, a wave back-to-back that makes no progress. So I'm going to show you. It literally can't break the high. Okay, let's see if I can find one. Here is a double-barreled back-to-back wave up. Wave one, wave two, right there. See how it cannot close above the prior wave? As soon as you close underneath that wave, it is very often long liquidation. There's only one caveat to it. You got to take the bar that breaks because everyone's going to sell it when they do that double-barrel push. It doesn't show up that often, okay? It doesn't show up that often is the challenge. You just have to know that that's a setup, and then you go and take it. Hey, Dean, by the way, if you're listening, I sent you a couple of emails. I just didn't know if you're receiving them or not. If you could let me know, that'd be really cool. I'd appreciate it. Other than that, I don't have anything else outside of that. Gold. Gold actually looks like it could roll down to me, believe it or not. No, I'm probably not supposed to say that, but, and by the way, ES did that exact trade this morning. If you look, see how we pushed down once, pushed down twice, and as soon as we clear those two double push downs, so pretty much, oh wait, this wasn't back to back. However, this was your wave down, and then they pressed with a bigger wave down. See this wave at 2 in the morning, or okay, that's your low wave, right? Come back, come back, come back. They don't shift back, and then you get another wave that makes a marginal, almost no progress, right underneath, and then you go underneath that wave, and you go shift up. It's just not fractal shift up, and that ends up being the trap. When it's slow in summertime, we will miss some of those fractals. That's all there is to it. So, and then we push. And now, if you were to, now that you get this push, right, you would not expect us to see us back inside 3002. If you do, and it shifts down into that, it's probably going to go back to 29.98 or whatever the support resistance zone is underneath, as has been posted on the 5-minute charts. right? Otherwise, buyers are in control, and it looked pretty decent yesterday. I don't know that I'd be getting long up here. Actually, I know that I wouldn't, but I'm looking for this press down. And what I'm trying to do is orient the room more and more towards catching those edges so that we can catch those bigger expressions up and down. So let's cover GC here really quick. And Bill nailed this yesterday. You can see everyone's just on hold this morning on CL GC. First, let's look at the chart. Okay, so first of all, GC, see this huge range day we've had on the 18th? That was our quote breakout bar. We're just consolidating inside of it. We haven't broken above. We haven't broken below. You got to get outside of this range in order to break out. Otherwise, this is called literally building energy for a move. Up or down? I don't know, but I know that in order to move down, you have to get below and hold below 1415. To break out, you have to get above 1448. And you have now 2 days in a row of 1428.60 being the value area high. So if we consolidate above 1428.60, we could easily push in and retest. This is our first resistance area, 1436 to 1437, right? And this area has now been very well auctioned, and it's pretty slippery going both ways, right? So now I want to show you yesterday's GC really quick. Bill had this nailed. He had it so good it wasn't even funny. Okay. When you see a push momentum like this, off a top like this, and then you shift back in right here, it is probably over, right? One way or another, it may do a backside test. It may not do a backside test, but it is probably over at that point, and you're going to sweep the range. And if you look, it's exactly what we did. Here was the original breakout. Over here, there's your parallel fractals. We swept back, right? And then if you look at how this process worked, right? We pushed up, broke out, biggest wave up. If you get underneath that biggest wave up, everyone up here is trapped back in, swept through the prior day's point of control, came all the way down. We tested those double fractals off to the left, counter rotated. We had this trade. I was long 1421 to 1424, right? Spring underneath. See that? So we didn't fractal shift back up. What you did is you pushed underneath, closed back in, shift up. So, excuse me, I'll stand corrected. There was the next push underneath. So now we shift waves. I'm sorry, caught it early. There's the next big push down right here. So that's your new line in the sand. And here's where we finally shift back up at 1418, back into that last wave down. Here's your first wave up. Actually, here's your first wave up. I stand corrected. First wave up. See how we're putting the pieces together? Second wave. Backside test support. And off it goes. Okay? To sweep the other way. So we're looking for breaks of big waves and traps back in. Those where your bigger trades are going to come from consistently. Now, what does that mean? That means you may end up spending a lot of time just staring in the middle, and you've got to have enough reps in your head to see that we're swinging from one end of the range to the other. That's it. So clearly this morning, right, when I saw this, I go, wow. Okay, see this? I go, wow, we broke out above the prior high, right? I would not expect. So just like over here, so compare these two pieces, right? So here I'm going to erase this so you can see this. It's a perfect example of one that worked and one that failed and how you make your trading decision around it. Over here, you go, wow, look, big breakout, right? Clearly, this is the place we broke out from. Clearly, this is the bottom of that wave, right? I wouldn't expect to get underneath that wave, and I certainly wouldn't expect to close back into the breakout. Now we come over here, right? Here's my high. Again, notice the parallel fractals. Wow. Big delta push. Okay. Backside test. I don't close back in. I don't get underneath my wave. Push out, right? Two pictures, almost identical circumstances, right? One takes off. They both take off. One's just a failure and one's a breakout move. And it's a small distinction between the two, but if you can learn the distinctions, your trading life gets a lot easier and you start to make a lot more money. And you can say, well, Simon, what if that doesn't happen while I'm trading? You'll wait, right? Because you will catch them. You're looking for a big push and you don't have to force it, right? So we have multiple ways of entering the longs, multiple ways of entering the shorts, right? And hopefully what you would have seen is you would have been long on this area right here. Well, that was in Asia, so probably not, at least in my case, right? So I really didn't have a setup here. I didn't get anything that would have let me trade this long to the upside. I'm trying to see if there would have been anything if I would have been up, but there was absolutely nothing. They just drove it all overnight, and that's fine. This broke out, maybe a backside test, but I really don't have anything to set up. This is my biggest push down, right? So what I might want to see is a push. Oh, well, there it was. Push underneath the wave, fractal speed bar shift up, and it continued up. But that's really not, I really want to see the bar underneath and then close back up. And really, I had nothing that would have let me get long there. And now we're pushing for a double top over here. I don't like just shorting blindly into the double top. So what I want to see, downside rotation, close underneath. Then I can use the backside as resistance for a trade in an attempt to push back to the downside. And what that would look like, just so everyone's clear, right, is this. 3 down, close underneath, backside test, push to the other side, right? So it all kind of, once you learn it, it all kinds of merges together and makes sense, kind of like a storybook. Anyways, gold's just balancing, and I'm not bearish or bullish on it. I just haven't figured out the pace yet. So we have oil in 30 minutes. I know what setups I am looking for today. I'm extremely clear what I'm looking for, and I'm not bearish on CL yet, right? And this whole picture will change. This whole picture will change after inventories. A pretty good clue or a way to manage that is to go, even though this wasn't the tallest delta push, they've been holding this all night long, right? So below 56.80, and we probably need a new rotation to set up for a long. And then bigger picture, when you look at it on the 25 range, right, down near 56.40, 56.20, that's where the longer moving average is that they've been unable to break. And that is where I would look for a trade as well, along with the anomalies that have been posted to the public and to the members in the room. So that's it. So I don't know how long. The caveat is obviously is that our Mueller's testifying at Congress today. I have no idea how that's going to affect it. The market doesn't appear to give a shit, or they're interpreting it as good. And up she goes. There's your down wave. Push underneath, close back in, and you can get continuation to the upside. And I'm not bearish on ES, so I'm hoping for pushes down to give me setups for longs. So that is my 2 cents. We sit tight. I'm really waiting for oil inventories, then about a half hour afterwards, and I am looking for the edges to get set up on a trade. I am looking for springs to get set up on a trade and then push those trades for larger P&L if at all possible. And kind of my 2 cents. Any questions, guys in the room? I think I laid out the argument pretty good. We stay patient, we get paid. GC is 7. I use a 24-hour chart, but the pitch session is 7:20 to 1 o'clock, I think. You need to verify that. But the pit opens at 7:20 Central Time, Randy. On ES, Yeah, but one cleared over the other. I want parallel, like no push kind of deals. And then what's the step there, right? Even if these have been parallel, you have to get underneath it for the long liquidation. I don't think we get long liquidation. Not here, not yet. So we're just coming off a base, and that's a big consolidation base you're going to have to get through overnight, right? So, especially after that push up, right? When you look at the bigger picture, right? That's a whole lot of consolidation we're over. We're just backside testing the top of that consolidation. That '07 area holds, right? This general area in here holds, push back up, continue to the upside. I don't see why it can't. So that's my 2 cents. I'm looking for fractal shift down, shift up, and ES for pushes up. And don't forget, right, the anomalies count. So on ES, obviously, as soon as Mueller started testifying or whatever that was at the open, we drove straight through. '07 to '05 is support. We don't get underneath '05. 1475 to 1775 is the clear target up. I don't see why we can't get there. I don't see anything bearish. So maybe I'm wrong. I'll change my opinion underneath '05, but they just did their work overnight and it looks like they want more. And it's summertime, so it's either going to balance and grind or we're going to drive straight up there, one of the two. So I'll hunt it and I'll see if they'll set it up. It took forever to get trades set up yesterday, right? I mean, forever. So I know we can cash those edges and push them if we're patient, and they're worth 30 cents to $1, somewhere in there in CL. And 4 to 5 points have been, I've totally screwed up ES yesterday, but if you follow the process, first wave underneath, there's 2 ways to get it, right? First wave underneath, close underneath, backside test, take the longer short, or long vice versa, right? Use the bottom of the wave as the stop. And second choice is get the big wave down, test underneath, and shift up back into that wave. That's a long, right? Or short, as the case may be, right? But see over here, we never even bothered breaking above. You just got fractal shift right here. And that's an all right trade. That's just the most aggressive version of that entry right there. And you're pushing right back into the anomaly here at 3007, 3005. So now you have a down wave. You want a little green bar up, push underneath, and see if you can get a fractal shift up back into it to push back towards the 16. Or you just say, I don't think we're getting below 3005, and you burn 3 points attempting to catch the reversal or continuation to the upside. That would be my 2 cents about that. I don't have anything else to say. So guys on YouTube, thanks for joining. If you'd like to join the room and see how we trade when the trade's actually set up, send me an email, tradeandperform@gmail.com, TRADENPERFORM@gmail.com. Happy to extend your 5-day pass. And I hope you are doing really wonderful. Have a great day. Trade smart. Don't blow up. It's not worth it. Guys, give me just a second. I'll be right back. That's a pretty big delta push down without much progress into an anomaly, right? So as long as it holds above 3005, push out, right? I mean, 14 to 17 is the target up. Or if we get underneath the wave, the other way to read that is biggest wave down and roll back to the downside, but you're gonna have to make it underneath the anomaly first either way. Oh, 7:20 to 1 o'clock, I believe is the hours. I usually actually so on my chart I actually use 7:20 a.m. to 3:15 because it often trades right into the end of the day. So I start 7:20 to 3:15 on the TPO. Randy, let's see what your question was.